Hi there, Dave here, how are you? I'm going to show you around the table saw in my workshop. This area here, not to be confused, this is not a table saw, this is the outfeed table. This area up here, the cast iron plate, the cast iron top I should say, with the insert, this is the table saw itself. It's a 3-horse machine, belt drive, beautiful big heavy trunnion under there that holds the blade and the motor assembly. It tilts to the left 45 degrees and it rises and falls, and I can cut it around about 75 to I guess up to about 80 millimeters deep at 90 degrees. The dust extraction on this saw is the best of any saw that I've used. It has a dust port underneath. There is an enclosure around the blade that dust gets sucked down through a 4-inch line through a dust extraction system, which is a low pressure high volume system. And then I've got this hose comes off the guard, which runs through my high pressure low volume system. 2 different types of extraction, and we'll go into that kind of stuff a little bit later on. Not today. That's a whole other video. So to get out of it, it's just a matter of take that hose off, pop that out of the way, and then if I want to change the blade or do anything around the blade, the saw here at all, make sure of course the power is off, which I always do. Say I want to remove the splitter assembly with the coils and the guard. It's just a simple matter of flip that up, push this back, there's a quick release clamp under here, pull that up, pop it out of the way, and then if I wanted to do things like change the blade, or if I want to put a riving knife instead of the splitter, it's a very easy matter of just slide it back into where that quick release is, hit the clamp, that's all done. Then there's a pin here, that's an Arbor Lock, and it's spring loaded in there. It's just a matter of one finger on it and it's done. Get a spanner in there, comes with a spanner, undo the blade, pull it out, and that's it. Now, regarding blades, I run 3 different types of blades in this saw. I run a rip blade, a fine crosscut blade, and the blade that's in it, which is designed for cutting melamine. Right, now, whilst I've got that there, I was talking about saw blades for the machine. This is a crosscut blade, 80 tooth, and you'll notice also that a lot of these blades have got a 30 millimeter bore, and I've got a 30 mil to 5/8 insert. I leave the insert in the blade. I don't like taking them out because they end up wearing and the blade can get a bit of a shimmer on it. So we've got that, it's called an industrial fine. The melamine and chipboard blade is in, and then I've got the ripper. Now the rip blade, important to use something like this when you're ripping lengths of natural timber, hardwoods, softwoods, doesn't really matter, just as long as you're using a ripper. Have a look at the difference in these 2 blades. If I can get this one up. Heaps of teeth, very small gullet. 80 teeth. This guy's only got 24 teeth and large gullets. Now this thing is like a set of chisels that's just dropping the grain out as it's going along it. These guys are cutting across the grain, so there's a whole heap of little chisels, and they're not taking out as large a section in one pass. So if you try and rip with a blade like this, you may end up burning, and it's no fun, especially if you've got a smoke detector in the workshop. Anyway, so with these things, it's best to just use those for cross-cutting and for plywoods. Rip saw blades, fantastic. I love them. If I'm ripping a little bit of Merbo or pine, cypress, whatever, it just slices through it like butter. Right tool for the job, use it. Okay, so we've been through underneath there that it's got a shroud that the blade travels through and sucks the sawdust before it gets a chance to fly all over the cabinet. What else do we have with this saw? I can pop the insert back on. Very easy. The insert's got a couple of ball bearings as well that push into the side of the cast here. So they clip in. Listen. Done. How cool is that? Now I'm all set to use one of my crosscut sleds. This is where these guys come into handy. This is very, very, very nice. I'll move the rip fence out of the way for the moment. Now, there's going to be heaps of people on the internet that will tell you how to build a crosscut sled, so I'm not going to do that. Just suffice to know that this little guy here can slide backwards and forwards. I can pop a piece of timber in here to dock it off, cutting across the grain. A lot safer than using the little miter guide that the saw companies supply you with. This particular one I've built a dust port in the back of. Now, one other thing before I get to the dust port. Down here you'll see I've got two pieces of timber that I've dropped into my outfeed table's miter slots. I put these miter slots in the outfeed table because it's just so much easier. If you're keeping everything's fixed heavily here, nothing's going anywhere. So I was confident enough to put these in and make them extremely accurate with the miter slots that are already in the table saw. So this continues to keep the the crosscut sled in tune with what's happening back here. So as it comes off the blade, I don't get any wobble. It stays perfectly supported by these guys back here. Anyway, stick with me. So now when I push this through, it hits those pieces of timber up there. You notice the blade is still exposed, hasn't come through on my side. And up here, I don't know if you can read that, but that says me. So it's just letting me know all this kind of stuff. Be aware as I'm bringing the blade up, or bringing the sled up to the blade, to the finish of the cut, I want to be safe. Sleds take about, I don't know, about a day to make a nice sled. This is a similar style to what Mark Spagnolo, the Wood Whisperer, made, and I used his tips on how to do it, and it's been absolutely lovely. On the back of the sled, which I haven't seen anyone do, I've put this. I'll come around this side so you can see. I've built an extension box onto the back of my sled, and it's got a dust port just there. So I hook this pipe. Let me get it, bring it down and show you. So I hook this pipe in like so, and then it goes up into the dust port up above. So it sucks all of the crap out of the way. I'll show you. I'm not going to turn the saw on. I'm just going to drop the sled in there, pop that up to there. I've got two different sizes. And you remember as well, as I'm cutting, the shroud that encloses the blade underneath the table is collecting everything. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to drop this guy down out of the way. That's a very smooth action. And then I'll show you how another sled that I've made, or another fitting that I've made for this, is my router table fence. Because you might notice that over this side I've got a router table insert, and this thing here is a Craig router table fence, and I've built a saddle that goes over the rip fence and I've let mag switches into it, and I've created a bit of a dust port as well. So this can slip over here, and I bring it on so that it's just in line with the front of the table. Bring it back, and then that T-bolt drops down into this track here, and I'm hoping it's going to work nicely. Of course it does. It's playing ball with me. And then I lock these. How cool are these mag switches? Now you won't lift that off. It is locked down big time onto that steel section in the middle of the fence. And now I can bring this up to my router table, use the clamp on the front of the rip fence, and use this clamp here to hold the other end of the fence. You will not, you won't get anything more solid than that. This is a cracker. I love this. So now I can work over on this side. I've got a track here, which is a double track from Craig. It's a mini T and also a miter slot. It's about 4 feet long, 1200 mil for you guys in Australia, and works brilliantly. So nice. I've got around about, I don't know, 7 feet that side of the cutter, and on this side, if I want to, I can roll. I've got a cabinet down there that I can roll around and pop it this side, and it keeps a lot of support just there. Oh, one of the other things, this is pretty important. The floor in my workshop is plywood, and it's got a satin finish on it, but it can be slippery with sawdust. So I have 1 metre by 1 metre rubber mats. They're rubber backed, but it's a carpet square. And it's not the old pigskin style carpet square, it's a nice carpet square because it's easy to clean. That's one of the important things. Vacuums off easily. But this in front, I've got one in front of the saw and one lives in front of the router station. Very safe. The rip fence has got a tape that's stuck to the rail that the fence travels on. And I've calibrated this off that. So absolute dead center of the router cutter back to the dimensions on the rip fence's guide is 384 millimeters. So I look at that and I say, right, well, if I set that to 384 millimeters, I know, release that, set it to 384. Okay, I am dead center of that cutter now. The dust extraction again goes straight up into the system above. And to show you I'm not telling you pork pies, I'll slide that fellow in there. There we go, so that slides in there. This one goes up the top here. And I have a few different dust ports underneath. I've got a 4-inch system runs up under into the cabinet below here. There is also another hose like this, connects into the top of the router's base plate, which mounted under there, and is also sucking through the 4-inch system. Then I have this, which is the high pressure system, working the gate. Now it's off to the side a little bit because the cutter is turning anti-clockwise when I've got it mounted upside down. And it's forcing everything over to the side, and hence that's where the collection is. I've also got another system for when I'm doing slots, rebates, trenches, whatever, here, and it collects there. So I'm doing some trenching in a cabinet to let a side in. All of the dust shoots straight out that way. Shoots straight out to the left. You cannot stop it. I've tried all different ways, using the fence, the stuff underneath here, all that kind of stuff. So I put a port in just to the left-hand side. It's around about 7 inches on the side of the insert, right from the center of the cutter, and nothing gets past it. It's a cracker. Anyway, that's another little part. We've digressed from the whole thing, but I guess, we could look at this whole area as one unit. It's a table saw and a router table in one go. Okay, the top. All this unit underneath here is boxes that I built from melamine. So it's the same as if I was to make a set of kitchen cupboards, the boxes that go under a bench top, melamine cabinets, and then this is on the top. This is kitchen bench top. It's laminate. Underneath this particular part of the router table, a couple of doors and a switch on the outside, so I don't have to keep going backwards and forwards. Under the cabinet, under the whole table itself, are 2 switches, so I can isolate the power to the table saw and I can isolate the power to the router. I can unplug the things, done. That's very handy as well. The suction for the 4-inch system for both the table saw and the router table are independent of each other. I've actually built a switch, a dust switch, under the table here. It was a lot of mucking around, but I used 2 blast gates. I siliconed them into a kind of a small melamine cabinet, box, whatever. You might know that you might cotton on that I like a bit of melamine here and there. It's easy to work with, and it's clean, and it's white, and it's reflective, gives a lot of light in here. Easy to clean. Okay, so where were we? The switch, I have a 4-inch line, 4-inch hose, comes under my floor. Under the table saw, comes up in between the table saw and the outfeed table, and I'll show you some video of it. It comes up to this switch, so I can open one or the other blast gate, depending on which table I'm using. So I can open up for the table saw, or I can shut that down, or I can open this one up, or I can close the pair of them off if I'm using other parts in the system. I have this comes under the floor and up under a few machines in here. That's pretty much it. Around the edges, it's all rounded over. I didn't want any sharp edges to catch on. I've taken the chamfers off on each corner of the table saw's outfeed table. I didn't want to get caught on any of that. And as I say, I've got the unit down the end there, which is a roll around, and it's great. It's just so good. I can use it there. It stores all of my screw boxes and bolts and things. I can bring it up to this side. I can move my assembly table out of the way and put it up here, and then it's a dirty big outfeed this way if I'm working on large panels over the router table. It's a nice quiet saw. One of the reasons it's nice and quiet is that it's got a flat belt. It's around about, I don't know, 25 millimeters wide and probably around 4 mil thick, maybe 5, and it's multi-ribbed on one side and never slips. Beautiful belt, and it doesn't give any vibration at all because it's so flat. It doesn't find a point where it's at rest where it's going to maintain that dent in the belt, which, you know, at every rotation you get that problem with other saws, but you don't get it with this. Alrighty, what do we got here? Take that off. It's pretty easy to do. Now that I've released the mag switches, I'm hoping, yes. There we go. That just pops up. Slide it out of the way. Now these sleds live under the outfeed table. I've got cabinets either side that I built, and then I slide the sleds in between them. So storage is fantastic. What else we got down here? I think that's about it. There's not really that much more to say, except for, of course, I've got a heater here as well. I live in a mountain area. It's not huge mountains because it's Australia and it's a very old continent, but still it gets bloody cold up here. So I have a couple of these heaters, and they're over each workstation, as I had explained in the workshop tour. That's about it. Thanks for watching. See you next time.